The element of surprise has always been one of the most powerful weapons in the history of war, and the recent strike on Russia's main oil refinery is a stark reminder of its devastating impact. For years, Moscow projected itself as a fortress, an untouchable capital shielded by advanced missile defense systems, tight security, and the pride of a nation that claims strength in the face of any adversary. Yet, this sudden and precise attack shattered that illusion, showing that no nation, no matter how powerful it appears on the surface, is beyond the reach of a well-calculated strike. The refinery was not just another industrial facility, it was a symbol of Russia's energy dominance, the beating heart that fuels its economy and sustains its military machine. To strike there was not only a tactical choice but also a psychological blow meant to shake the confidence of both leadership and citizens alike. The brilliance of this attack lies in its timing and execution. By catching Moscow off guard, the attackers proved that the most fortified defenses crumble when the enemy least expects the blow. History has shown us time and again that the strongest armies can falter under surprise. From ancient ambushes to modern drone strikes, the element of surprise changes the course of battles faster than sheer numbers or firepower ever could. The refinery attack was not merely about destruction, it was about exposure. It exposed the gaps in Moscow's intelligence network, the flaws in its defense perimeter, and the misplaced confidence in its ability to predict and prevent such a strike. Suddenly, the myth of invincibility that Russia had carefully crafted collapsed in a matter of moments. What makes this event more significant is the ripple effect it creates beyond the immediate damage. The psychological warfare at play is as impactful as the physical destruction itself. Citizens who once felt secure now question their safety. Leaders who once boasted about their nation's resilience now scramble to explain how such a critical target could be struck in the heart of their territory. Every explosion that ripped through the refinery was also an explosion of doubt, fear, and distrust within Moscow. And in war, those invisible cracks can be far more damaging than the visible ruins left behind. The refinery attack serves as a chilling lesson that modern warfare is not always about who has the bigger arsenal but about who can outthink, outmaneuver, and outsmart their opponent. Russia's pride, its economy, and its image of power have all been pierced by this single strike, and that is the true genius of employing surprise as a weapon. The attackers did not just strike an oil facility, they struck the confidence of a nation, proving that strategic precision is often more terrifying than brute force. In that single moment of chaos, the world saw that even the mightiest can bleed when caught off guard. Allies start doubting the strength of their partnership, while enemies grow bolder, sensing weakness in the cracks of confidence. Ultimately, the refinery attack proved that panic can be deadlier than missiles. A city shaken by fear, a government scrambling for control, and an economy spiraling under pressure, these are the hidden casualties of war. Panic is not just an emotional response, it is a weapon, and in Moscow, it has begun to tear through the foundations of power more effectively than any bomb could. The strike on Russia's main oil refinery did not remain an isolated incident confined within Moscow's borders. Its shockwaves spread far beyond, shaking the global stage and forcing both allies and adversaries to re-evaluate their strategies. Energy has always been one of the most powerful currencies in world politics, and Russia's dominance in oil exports gave it significant leverage in international affairs. The moment that refinery was struck, however, that image of dominance was shattered, sending ripples through markets and fueling uncertainty across continents. Global oil prices surged overnight, investors panicked, and governments scrambled to secure their own energy reserves. The world realized in that instant that Russia was not as secure as it had long appeared, and this vulnerability raised urgent questions about the balance of power in the ongoing conflict. The symbolic value of the attack cannot be overstated. Striking an oil refinery is not just a blow to an economy, it is a statement to the world. It tells every observer that Russia, often portrayed as a mighty force resistant to external threats, can be wounded at its core. This matters immensely in the realm of geopolitics, where perception is as influential as reality. Countries that once hesitated to challenge Moscow now see cracks in its armor, emboldening them to push back with greater confidence. On the other hand, Russia's allies, who relied on its strength as a guarantee of partnership, begin to second-guess whether they are backing a fading power. Diplomacy is built on trust and strength, and this strike eroded much of the trust that Russia had accumulated. The global repercussions extend into the economic and military spheres as well. Energy shortages destabilize not only Russia's economy but also its capacity to sustain prolonged warfare. Oil and gas revenues have long been the lifeline of Moscow's war budget, funding its weapons, logistics, and propaganda machinery. With its main refinery crippled, the flow of resources weakens, and the strain shows on multiple fronts. This is precisely why the strike resonates so strongly on a global level. It demonstrates that modern warfare is no longer confined to the battlefield but is fought in the economic veins that sustain nations. Every country watching understands that their own infrastructures could one day be targets, and this realization sparks debates about national security in capitals far beyond Russia. The aftermath of the refinery strike was not limited to flames, smoke, and rubble. It triggered something far more damaging for Moscow: panic. Panic is a force that spreads faster than fire, and in moments of crisis, it can erode even the strongest walls of authority. When news broke of the attack on Russia's main oil refinery, it sent shockwaves throughout the capital, leaving both ordinary citizens and high-ranking officials scrambling for answers. For the people, the refinery was more than an industrial site. It was a lifeline that powered their daily lives, kept their cities moving, and maintained the economy. For the government, it was a pillar of stability and wealth. The sudden loss of such a critical asset turned certainty into fear and exposed the fragility of Russia's so-called strength. In Moscow, fear quickly turned into visible signs of unrest. Supermarkets witnessed rushed buying, fuel stations faced long queues, and whispers of shortages spread from one street to another. This was not merely about the physical absence of oil or fuel, it was about the looming shadow of insecurity that citizens had never expected to experience in their own capital. The belief that Moscow was untouchable, far removed from the battlefront, was shattered in an instant. When a city's citizens begin to panic, their anxiety feeds into a greater storm, forcing leaders into reactive rather than proactive measures. The Kremlin, usually keen on projecting calm and control, suddenly found itself trapped in a cycle of explaining, reassuring, and covering up, a cycle that often makes panic spread even faster. But the domino effect of this attack reached deeper into the fabric of Russia's power. Oil is not just a product, it is the bloodstream of Russia's economy and its war machine. With its refinery disabled, the country faces a chain reaction, disrupted logistics, supply shortages, and weakened military mobilization. Soldiers at the front lines cannot fight without fuel, tanks cannot move, and planes cannot fly without the steady flow of refined oil. This disruption undermines confidence within the armed forces, causing frustration among troops and commanders who now feel the strain of resource scarcity. Panic does not stop at civilians, it creeps into the ranks of the military, weakening their spirit and turning focus inward when it should remain on the battlefield. The government's panic is even more significant. Leaders thrive on control and stability, but when panic sets in, they begin to question their own strategies and scramble for immediate solutions. Decisions made in fear are often flawed, and enemies know this well. By sparking panic in Moscow, the attackers did more than damage infrastructure, they destabilized the decision-making environment of an entire government. When panic consumes leadership, it creates openings for mistakes, overreactions, and internal divisions. Another profound impact is psychological. For years, Russia leveraged fear as one of its greatest weapons, projecting the image of an unbreakable giant capable of outlasting sanctions, attacks, and global pressure. But now, as images of the burning refinery circle the globe, the narrative has shifted. The attackers showed that even the most formidable powers are not immune, and this shift in narrative changes how the world negotiates, cooperates, or confronts Russia. Perception shapes policy, and this attack has rewritten perceptions overnight. In the end, the refinery strike is more than a tactical victory, it is a strategic message to the world. It destabilizes Moscow internally, but its greater achievement is the international ripple effect, shaking markets, redefining alliances, and proving that no fortress is beyond reach. The global stage is now realigned, and Russia's place on it appears weaker, more vulnerable, and more uncertain than ever before.